Well, this is very much the video we have been waiting to make, because between us, we have got some of the, I think it's fair to say, some of the best rods and reels currently in production.
100%. If you if you're watching this video, you've already seen the title and you've already seen the thumbnail, so you already know what this is about. And to say it's high end is yeah,
a bit of an understatement.
Yeah, it truly is high end. This is as premium as a set of rods and reels get. Well, the two sets combined.
Yeah.
Yeah, really special.
So if you haven't seen the video already, we well and truly put these rods and reel combos through their paces recently when we went to the linear fisheries and we fished Brasenose at quite a decent range for us anyway.
Certainly, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Significant range for people that are not necessarily big casters.
Yeah, exactly. So we were fishing a spot together between the two swims, and that was 30 wraps, and then we had individual spots as well, which I think mine was about 25. I think yours was similar as well.
Similar.
And you kept moving rods about,
yeah.
But between the 25 and 30 wrap range, which for both of us is quite a considerable distance, and they both more than handled that challenge. But just quickly glossing over what I've got, these are the Daiwa Basia Rods, which I think is the highest end that Daiwa actually produce.
Yeah.
And they are very, very nice. We'll come on to that more later in this video. And then the reels that I've got are the Daiwa 20 Tournament QD SCW Basias. That might be all in a completely wrong order, but I think that's all the bits that are actually in this. Again, we'll talk about the specs in a little bit, but they are pretty much the highest end reel that Daiwa make as well. So
yeah.
This is a setup which is hard to compete with, but yours comes very close.
Yes, it does come very close. Now, these are not quite the same level as the real rod and reel combo that Luke is holding, but these are also extremely high end. Now, this is a Basia X45X rod, and this is a 13-foot 3 1/4. Now, we'll get into all the specky details about the rods in a bit, but I didn't realise just how much difference a 13-foot rod makes, not only to the distance that you need to cast, but also to the technique that you need to be using while you're casting. So that was quite a big learning curve on the actual session for me. And they were coupled with the Basia SLD 45LD QD reels.
I think that's all of it.
That was a mouthful. Which I have actually used in the past before, so I already knew they were fantastic, but to get out with them again was not an opportunity I was going to miss up.
No, so if you have seen the video, you will know that I was actually lucky enough to get amongst a couple of fish and actually put these rods through their paces in terms of fish playing as well as casting. And they were a joy to use. I mean, I'm going to say that they're the best rods on the market. Of course, they're a joy to use. But until you actually use them, you can't appreciate how nice they are to play fish on. Now, I've got the 12-foot 3.25 pound model. And with that, obviously, as you'd expect, it's actually a very forgiving blank. So it's a really hard one to explain because you've got tons of power when it comes to casting, but when you're playing fish, it's a very nice through action, and it really is a playing sort of rod, whether that's at the range that we were fishing when we first hooked it or under the rod tip when you're playing the fish before actually netting it. This felt, it was just comfortable. It done everything it needed to do. It absorbed lunges. It was a very nice rod to play fish on.
I think, sorry, just
no.
I think when you get to a certain price range, a rod really does become like an extension of your arm.
Yeah.
Like it no longer feels like a separate entity. That rod and reel combo basically does exactly what you think it should do when you think it should do it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like
you're not fighting against it. You're
Yeah.
not fighting against the rod. It's not taking you directions you don't expect to go in. Like Ian says, it's just smooth and it's fluent. And I mean, unfortunately,
yes, okay, I blanked. I blame Luke. He always puts me under extreme pressure during these situations where they want me to produce a fish. But
well, we're just there to catch fish at the end of the day, aren't we? So one of us got to deliver.
Yeah, that's it. Well done, you. Yeah, so I didn't manage to catch any fish on these, but I have previously used the 12-foot version and I caught plenty of fish on those. So obviously it's an extremely similar blank. These are just slightly longer. Now, coming on to that sort of length of blank, as I mentioned, the whole 13-foot rod thing was I wouldn't say it was an issue for me, but
it was an eye-opener, wasn't it?
It was an eye-opener. It took some work to get my casting technique changed so that I was still hitting the clip how I wanted to hit the clip each time, or not, as the case may be, depending which clips Luke recorded. But yeah, once I got past that, these made life very easy fishing at those sort of range. But yeah, as we say, we're going to get into all the specky bits and pieces in a bit, but I think what you need to take away from this is fantastic bits of kit.
It's one of those things that, yes, these are very, very high end, and of course with that they are expensive. And before everyone gets excited in the comments and says, oh, you can buy a Bugatti for the same price as these rods, which you probably can, before everyone goes like that, these are meant for people that can afford them. And if you can afford the best, you generally buy the best and you want to use the best.
Yeah.
And these are the best and they feel the best.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stop saying best now because I think I've run out of bests.
I think what it is over the years, as people progress within their fishing, you're always looking to level up.
Yeah.
And well, this is once you've completed it. There's no more leveling up.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah, I think these aren't going to catch you more fish necessarily, but they make sure you enjoy the whole process a lot more.
Yes, exactly.
So should we move on to the specs?
Yep, let's get into the in-depth little nuances that make these just that much more special than anything else. Yeah. So this is the point in the video where I get just as confused as you guys while we go through all of the little specky nuances that make these rods just that much more special than other rods that are on the market. As I said in the intro, I was using the Basia 𝗃𝗶𝗺𝗏𝗃. These are the 13-foot 3¼ pound test curve, and well, they are a thing of beauty. Now obviously a 13-foot rod normally is aimed solely as a casting tool. On numerous different occasions over the years, we've seen them come out in sort of 4-pound test curves where they're designed for chucking a 4 or 5 ounce lead at massive ranges. But the guys at Daiwa have managed to make a rod with a nice play in action, which is still extremely capable for casting. Like I say, that 3.25 pound test curve, it's a softer rod, it's a player's rod. It's not an out-and-out casting tool, but it is more than capable. Now, of course, there are a few features that are used within the manufacturing process of this blank that make it rather special. So we're going to go through a couple of those now. We have covered them in previous videos because, as you guys know, an awful lot of the specs that Daiwa use in even their top-end premium stuff does filter down into some of their lower-end models. Not all of it, but what it means is that there really is a rod within their range for everyone. So first of all, let's talk all about the HVF technology. HVF Nano Plus technology is basically a way of reducing weight in a blank. Resin is actually kind of heavy, which is obviously what keeps the carbon fibers together, giving them their strength. Now, by limiting the amount of resin that is used within the manufacturing process, you can create a lightweight, crisp blank. And that's exactly what this is all about. It's nice and lightweight. You've still got that extremely responsive feel. So yeah, HVF technology basically is more carbon, less resin, better blank. Now that blank is rolled around a very almost traditional style mandrel that the guys at Daiwa have been using for quite some time now, and that is called the Magnum Taper, a truly tried and tested blank design which they have been putting into some of the most premium rods on the market for years and years. Combine that with the X45 technology, which is a process of layering different layers of carbon at 45-degree angles, reducing twist, creating again that crisp feeling through the blank. It gives you a very, very accurate, responsive blank, which is what we all crave within our fishing. An extremely premium product, of course, goes under extremely premium processes. As we move further out the rod, we get to the spigot joint. Now, in the past, quite often rods suffered with quite heavy flat spots and sort of uneven curves around the spigot joint because it has to be so heavily reinforced to enable sort of the casting power that's required. V-joint alpha is a technology that Daiwa incorporate into these rods to make sure that doesn't happen. You get a nice progressive curve from tip to 𝗷𝗄𝗃, and when I say 𝗷𝗄𝗃, I mean 𝗷𝗄𝗃. You can literally, as you bend into a cast, you can literally feel this bending all the way down, and yeah, it's quite an exceptional feeling. The feeling of power throughout the butt section of this rod is really quite impressive. Combine that, again, as I mentioned earlier, with that very, very crisp and responsive tip speed, and you've got a tool which is capable of so many different jobs within angling. Now, mentioning tip speed brings us onto the TGG guys, which offer a skeletal design, but still, again, the strength and reliability that you need from a guide on a fishing rod. These things can take a bit of a hit. If you're a bit clumsy like me and you do tend to use your gear hard as it is supposed to be used, they can certainly take the brunt of the abuse. Now, tip speed obviously is quite important. The faster you can get the tip of the rod moving through the air, the further the lead is going to go. So any weight reduction in a blank or on the guides is going to make a massive difference to your long range fishing. Now, when it comes to tip speed and rod speed, that is something which is really quite important on any rod that is designed for any kind of long range fishing. Obviously, the faster you can move that rod through the air, the further the lead is going to go. And that's where the TDG skeletal designed guides come into play. They're extremely lightweight, but still offer a greater internal diameter compared to a standard ceramic guide. So they're lightweight, they're hard wearing, they can take a knock, and they're going to help you to cast further. And now moving down the rod to talk about the contact points, if you like. The lower section here covered in a very premium Japanese shrink handle, offering a good compromise between durability and grip, perfect for playing fish or long distance casting. And then just above that, as you can see, a thing of beauty, the 𝗷𝗚𝗄𝗃 ARD reel seat with locking collars. These offer the optimum support for your reel and rod. They make the whole thing feel like one package, which is something that's really quite difficult to achieve with any other style of reel seat. Now, as with almost all of the high-end Daiwa stuff, these are made right here in the UK and are available in a couple of different test curves. You've got 12 and 13 foots, and then you've got the 3 1/4 and the 3 3/4. So if you want an absolute animal casting tool, you've got that 3 3/4, and if you want a really good all-rounder, you've got the 3 1/4. Just pick your length accordingly. Moving on to the Basia SLD 45 reel. This thing, as I said, I have used in the past. They're a cracking reel. They're a lot of money, but you know, they offer so many things that other reels don't offer. I guess the first thing that we need to mention is just how lightweight they are. These reels come in at just 485 grams, and that is mainly down to the magnesium body and Xion rotor that Daiwa have used. An extremely lightweight combo, but it also offers amazing durability, and that is what you want. This is a premium product, so you expect it to last the test of time, and these are proven materials that Daiwa have been using for quite some time now. This is actually a 2017 model of reel, so these have been around for a little while, and people like Luke have been abusing them day in, day out. And yeah, they still look almost as good as when they came out of the packet. A couple of other nice features on this reel. You've got QD, which obviously stands for quick drag, offering you the perfect amount of adjustment for any playing situation that you may wish to be in. They offer a massive amount of drag, so you can really lock that spool solid when you're giving it a big one with big leads on. Obviously on the spool, you've got the HIP line clips, aid cushioning that line when you're hitting that clip. Again, with big leads at distance, you certainly don't want anything that's going to damage your line, so HIP line clips are the way forward. The actual feeling of the reel itself is, well, these are Rolls-Royce reels. It is so smooth, it is almost untrue. And one thing I will just mention, if I just quickly turn this around here, the handle. Now, this sounds silly, but the handle is so free spinning, it is mad. And then the other thing, which some of you may have just noticed there, these wooden things are almost weighted and they end up in the same place every single time. It's just something that Daiwa have incorporated into these reels just to make them a little bit special, and they are special, and I feel super lucky that I got to use them on the session.
Well, if I'm honest, I don't really know how to follow that. Ian has well and truly smashed the description of his Basia rods, but like I say, I have got the Basia rods, and these are the X45X as well. So they do share a lot of similarities with the Basia X45, but this has got an extra R on it, and that makes all the difference, because these are actually the thinnest blank Daiwa have ever produced. So they're one step further than the Magnum taper that we're seeing on a lot of the previous models. This is thinner than ever, and this is thanks to basically being made up of new components, but new components that are so secretive, it's almost a bit like KFC gravy. Nobody wants to actually tell us what these new components are, but all I can say is the blank is thinner and lighter than ever before. So it's not just the diameter of the blank that is different between these two rods. This one actually features different guides as well. So you've got the American Tackle Thai Forge stainless air guides, and these are even lighter than the TDG that are found on the Basia X45X. But they're not only lighter, they have a slightly different angle to them as well. So because of the different angle, the line will flow through this a lot freely. A lot freelier, is that a word? A lot freer. So then that way you're going to have less resistance, you're in theory going to have better distances, and obviously far less chance of a tangle. Now the next main difference between these rods is actually the reel seat, and this has a 𝗷𝗐 reel seat. And yes, I know the Basia has an 𝗷𝗐 as well, but this is an air pad reel seat as opposed to the ARD. And this is different. It's a weird kind of soft touch to it. It actually feels really nice on the hand, and I've been touching this probably a bit too much, but it still has the lock-in reel seat, so you know that that rod and reel is completely as one, as Ian would say. It is locked in, there is no movement on that whatsoever, but it is just a very slightly different design, and I think I do prefer this design over the ARD. So that is the main differences between these Basias and the Basias that Ian has just described. But of course you've got all the same technology as well. They, like I said earlier, they share a lot of similarities. You've still got the X45, you've still got the HVF, you've still got V-joint alpha. So all the good stuff that's in the Basia is in this and some. Moving on from the Basia rod, we move on to the 20 tournament Basia SCW-QD. 45, and that 45 is important and one not to forget. That is the diameter of the spool, or sorry, the length of the spool. It's a 45mm spool, which is the same as the Basia SLD. Daiwa have found this to be the perfect spool size in terms of casting range and to actually get the best and the most out of your line. But this does differ again to the SLD in quite a few areas. The first of which is going to be the slow cross wrap. Now, slow cross wrap is basically the amount of time that the spool takes to go up and down the shaft. So if I just demonstrate it here, you'll see that there is a lot of turns of the handles to do one complete up and down movement. And basically that leads to far better line lay, which again, if that line is laid on the spool a lot better, it's also going to come off the spool a lot better as well. So it can lead to extra distances where you need it most. So another difference between this one and the Basia SLD is with the SLD, you've actually got a Xion rotor. However, with this tournament, you've got a full Xion body, and that is mag sealed as well. So this is going to be one of the most hard wearing reels, which when we talk about the price point, you're going to want it to be as hard wearing as possible. But basically by being mag sealed, it's going to protect the internals as much as possible. These internals are actually CNC machined. So basically what that means is that they are super precise in terms of the actual build and the makeup of them. That means there's going to be no movement whatsoever and result in a far smoother reel, which is going to do exactly what it has been designed to do. And I think that shows. This is super smooth. You can see here just a quick flick of the handle, just everything works perfectly. And Ian's had a little play with this and he said that you can see the difference between this one and the SLD. Not that the SLD is any slouch at all, but again, this is just the next stage up and it really holds its own. Now, of course, this is a QD reel as well, a quick drag reel. And if I'm being completely honest, I think this is probably one of the smoothest drags I've ever felt in a reel. And it was really noticeable when I was playing those couple of fish at Linear. It is so precise. The adjustments that you can make to this is perfect when you're playing a fish. And I think Ian even said in the full video, it literally just purrs. It feels incredible to play fish on. And yeah, I mean, I can't say any more about it. It is the best drag on the market. Spec wise, that's probably about it, but I will touch upon the appearance because you can't ignore that. These look incredible. They're very different to the SLDs. Ian's ones were super blacked out, and if you like that stealthy look, then they're probably the ones to go for. But if you like something with a little bit of bling, but tasteful bling, then these tournaments are definitely the one. They've got little flecks of red all over them, and it's more of a gunmetal grey than it is black. But it works. It's a really nice, deep, almost cherry sort of red, as opposed to a tomato blingy in your face horrible red. These are done with class, with taste, and they're just a brilliant set of reels. It's really hard to find fault with them, which is understandable because they are probably some of the best reels ever produced anywhere in the world. So if you want to find out more information about any of this kit that I'm currently holding, or what Ian's been talking about earlier in this video, then please do head over to the Daiwa website. And that, I think, is about a wrap for this piece. I hope you've enjoyed watching this. I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of the high-end gear that Daiwa has to offer. Let us know in the comments what you think of them. They're not going to be for everyone because they are very, very high-end, but if you're in the market for top gear, this is going to be the stuff to go for. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.